City Councilman of the 3rd Ward is John Jacon, who's on right now. Now, John, you're for paving all this. This would be a plan that over the course of 15 years, we would have all the city streets paved.
That's correct, Bill.
And you're for it. Why should this go forward?
Well, it should go forward because that's one of the essential services that a city provides to its taxpayers, is maintenance of the infrastructure. And lately, the city has not been doing a good enough job, and I and other members of the council think that we can do better.
And what's it going to cost at the end of the day? What will it cost? Because ultimately, this is going to cost taxpayers.
Well, of course it's going to cost taxpayers, but that's what our taxes go for. When all of us run for office and we go around and we talk to citizens when we're campaigning, the number one issue that they come up with is streets and the condition of the streets. And if you talk to people, people want value for their money, Bill. And if you ask them, are you willing to pay a couple of dollars more to see results, every one of them will say yes, over and over again. It's been proven. So all we're doing is we want to give the people the value for their money.
This really isn't though giving value for their money. This is because you're asking if you were saying that this would be done without any tax increase, and now we're going to be more efficient with the use of the money we're already taking, then that would be giving value for their money. But saying we're going to raise taxes, and then I don't know how you can make that value argument. I don't get that.
Well, we might not necessarily need to raise taxes, and that's the fallacy in the administration's argument. They say that it's a guarantee that we're going to have to raise taxes, and I frankly don't agree, and other members of the council don't agree. If you look at the mayor loves to talk about the budget surpluses that we've had over the last couple of years. The mayor just in the last week was talking about our increasing property tax base. But when he argues against the paving proposal, he likes to make believe that revenues are not going to increase over the future, that everything's going to remain static. You can't have it both ways.
Okay. All right, Andrew.
So over the years, roads have been repaired, sometimes roads that have been repaired over and over again. And I understand that there's busier roads in some part of the city than others, but what's the formula to figure out what road's taken care of, and why hasn't them been done already with the money that already existed?
Well, part of the reason is because we're only spending $2 million a year on the roads. And back when that proposal was put into place, $2 million, everybody thought that was going to be an adequate dollar amount to spend on the paving. But it's proven that it isn't. If you read the guest editorial that was in the Observer Dispatch this past weekend, where the administration laid out their position, if you really read into it, I think you see that they make a better argument for our position of voting for Proposition 1 on November 8th than voting against it. For instance, one of their arguments is that costs are going to rise for paving. Well, if that's the case, is it better to wait for costs to rise so that we get fewer miles of road paved for the same dollar? That really doesn't make sense to me. And also, if costs rise and we're still only spending the same $2 million a year, then our 40-year cycle now becomes a 55-year cycle, and nobody wants that.
So, okay, wasn't there money already allotted? Wasn't it already mandated that the roads would be maintained? And
it's already mandated that $2 million a year be spent, and as I said, that's not getting enough road done. The other thing that
let me finish my question. But what I'm told though, and I'm trying to get the exact details down. From what I have been told is that money was allotted. Maybe it's $5 million, and that the city was not able to actually follow through on that because the money wasn't there, so the roads were never paved. So, what makes you feel that that actually going out and so you're going to bond for some of this, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
Bonding for the money is the worst case scenario.
Okay. And then
because again, there are ways to increase revenue. For instance, we know the mayor's talked about our increasing tax base. With an increasing tax base and tax rate remaining the same as it is, you bring in more money. That's simple arithmetic. We know that the county executive, Anthony Vicente, is talking about maybe a redistribution of sales tax dollars, which we ain't.
Well, that's a lot of. I got to tell you though, that's a lot of maybes here.
That's right? A lot of maybes, but okay. But here's something that is definite. Within the next 5 years, the city is going to retire old debt that will free up over about $1 million a year of payments that we're making to old debt. We're talking about spending $200,000 a year. We've got
Right.
$1 million a year coming off the books.
Okay, so here's what I would like to do on this. I'd like to get somebody like yourself that is for this, and get someone on the council, maybe Mark Williamson, that is against it, and get the two of you on at the same time. Would you be willing to be that one half of that, John?
I'd be happy to do
Okay,
that. Sure.
let's do that. I think this obviously the voters are going to be needing to vote on this coming up in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow. So to have both sides on and both sides debating it, I think would be a real positive. So we'll put that together and be in touch later today.
All right.
All right.
One last thing I'd like to say about the editorial that was in the paper.
Got it.
Is where they say that if we spend money on paving, we have to reduce spending on public safety. That's a scare tactic, and that really should not be part of the conversation. The council has taken steps in the past year to maintain or even increase the level of public safety that we give our citizens. So I really personally object to that kind of statement.
So just to be clear, there is a tax cap in place.
There is a tax cap,
and with the tax cap, if you're
but-
already going to be raising taxes, if something comes up where you have to raise them again to meet the needs, and maybe it is public safety, you would have the tax cap. You might be looking at another larger increase again.
Again, that's a maybe. You were talking to me about
Sure.
potentials and what if scenarios.
I always like to.
That's a what if scenario too. But Bill,
I always
remember,
like on the.
remember
yeah.
that capital improvements don't get charged against the tax cap amount.
Got it. I would say I always like to, when it comes to maybes, they always work better when you're not doing something. They always work better for an argument against something than an argument for it, because when you're planning for something that might be there, it's hard to budget that in. But interesting stuff.
Well, let's talk about one of the maybes.
Yep.
One of the maybes that the administration talks about in their letter is that maybe your street won't get paved until the 13th, the 14th, the 15th year of under our scenario, under our proposal. Well, if your street hasn't been paved in the last 40 years under the administration's proposal, it might not get paved again for another 40 years. So do you want your street paved? Do you want to see results, or do you not want to see results? And that's the decision that you need to make on November 8th and vote yes on Proposition 1.
All right, John. We'll be in touch later today and get this together here in studio. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks very much,
All right.
Bill.
John Jacon with the Common Council City of Utica.